Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome back to Dr. JC Education Studio. Whew, I am back after the holidays, a huge family vacation, a special trip to Savannah, Georgia. And so I decided I better get in here, get back to work, if you will, and talk to you about perfectionism, rest, and self compassion because they all go together. Um, as you all know, most of us doctors are absolute perfectionists. And I would argue that sometimes perfectionism is a good thing. So don't get all upset because there are times where we really have to pay attention to every detail and absolutely need to be perfect or as perfect as we can be. But the problem is that we can be perfectionistic in everything that we do. And I know for me, I can take that perfectionism of being a medical practitioner and apply it to every other section of my life. And I really have to work to overcome it. And I'd be willing to bet you probably do too. So I'm going to give this example of making this video. I've got crazy hair from scooping the walks. Today it's minus 24 here in Wyoming. And I had to put on all of my fancy hats just to get that job done. I also have a huge mess in my office as a result of all the time that I took away between holidays and packing and unpacking for our fabulous cruise that we went on. And then I'm also in the process of starting taxes and paying bills that might have not been on auto pay since I was gone. Yeah. The problem with perfectionism is that we constantly wait for the perfect time. And here's the deal. If I wait for the perfect time, then I'll never, ever make this video. I'll never do this creative endeavor, and I won't do the things that I need to do to continue this work. So perfectionism can really be a huge challenge for us, especially as medical providers. And I bet perfectionism does to you too. And if it does, I'd love to hear about it because, crazy hair. um, so, as part of our discussion today, I have brought in Brene Brown and the gifts of imperfection. And I've talked about Brene a little bit and other things. Absolutely love her. She does a lot of research regarding humans and living their best life. And I'll certainly say that I did this book or read this book and also did kind of an online course with it, which was amazing. And so if you ever get a chance to do that, if it's still even available, I definitely recommend it. But as part of this book and its discussion, talks about the universal experience of shame and judgment. We've talked about universal experience in kind of the compassion, especially self-compassion world. And the trick is that we use perfectionism as a way to protect ourselves. Now, that makes sense when we're talking about it as a medical provider. Yes, if we do everything perfect, we order every test, we document every single word that we say to a patient, that it'll protect us from medical liability or being sued or what have you. Which, if some of you have been through some of those things, that's not even absolutely true. But I digress. Instead, we have perfectionism that kind of goes throughout our whole entire life. So it's not just while we're in the office, but it's also with what we're doing with our kids and what we're doing with ourselves, and whether we should take a break or whether we should, hire someone while we're gone, and should we, the perfectionism list could go on. But what's interesting is when we try to say that we're using dang it, when we're using perfectionism to protect ourselves, we miss out on some other things. And the challenge is that we are all going to make mistakes, and we are all doing the best that we can. And if that sounds familiar, it's because it does. And it actually ties directly back into the research that Dr. Neff has done on self compassion. And the short answer is that doing the best that we can, all of us humans, is kind of a universal concept, right? That we all share in challenges. We all have things happen to us. We all make mistakes. And that's part of being human. And that's part of being compassionate with ourselves. So when we talk about perfectionism, sometimes we don't always recognize that it cuts us off from our own humanity and keeps us from having compassion for ourselves. So, something important that I want you to think about today if you get a chance to. And that's kind of a next subject is, when do you ever get a chance to sit down and think? Mm, I know, because I know you guys. I'm right here with you, practicing it as well. Um, Oftentimes we never stop moving, going, doing, taking kids places, going nonstop, writing, emailing, scrolling on our phones. We never stop to actually rest, have some calm, make space in our schedule, have relaxation. And I'm going to argue that those things would actually help us with our self compassion, but also help us with perfectionism. And I'm here today to encourage you to um, take some rest. And I'll laugh as I say, that there are times when I swear I didn't even know how to stop. I didn't know how to relax. And you guys have those patients in your office too. You know when they walk in the door, because sitting down and having a conversation with you and getting examination, they have to be on their phone. They're pacing the office waiting for you to come in and do the exam, all those kinds of things. But also, uh, that's you. If you're running everywhere and you're trying to get charts done and you're trying to check billing and you're trying to get back on all those prior authorizations, you get so busy that you don't get a time to think about your practice, changing policies in your office, setting up systems that make it work better for you, all those kinds of things. We just never take the time to really rest. And our drive for perfectionism keeps us from resting. So now here's the question. If you're doing that, you really need to rest, right? And I'll giggle because I'll just say I was on vacation on a cruise ship, which is interesting because you could race from one activity to another and do a bunch of things. One of the beauties of taking that type of vacation is somebody else is doing cooking and cleaning and taking care of things for you. And a lot of times you just have to show up. So there's a lot more space in your day than maybe what you normally have. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to go on a cruise vacation, but I will say that taking time to sit down and think, to give yourself some space, to have some time to play, take a nap is really, really important. And the funny part is that there's no one right way to do it. You can journal, you could do some yoga. If you're me, you know how much I love to dance on the Lido deck. So it could be dance, it could be creative pursuits, painting and drawing. Crafting. If you're me, that would include hot gluing your fingers together. But when we talk about resting and restoring, it's part of something that we need to actually practice to be able to have better self compassion and to also help us deal with the anxiety and the anxiety that comes with perfectionism. And so today I'm not going to make you do any meditations. I just want you to stop and think for a little bit. But I want you to kind of put this in your mind as you're working with patients, especially here in the new year. And the new year is usually the time where we think about, where we want to be over the next year, what things we want to do. But in your mind, here's what I want you to think of, and this comes from Brene Brown herself. Um, would it be better to infect people with more anxiety? And we'll say people or patients here. Or would it be better if we heal ourselves and others with calm? It's an interesting thought when we talk about self compassion, rest, and perfectionism, and how they all interact with each other. As always, if you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to email me at the Dr. JC Education Studio. And I will also put website information in here regarding self compassion skills. So, for those of you who haven't taken it, it's a great way to give you some feedback about where you are. And if you haven't taken it about 6 months or so and you've been working on self compassion, it's a great time, especially since you're taking some time to think. It's a great time to retake that test and kind of see where you're at. So I will put that in the link below so you have that information. I hope you have a great day. Bye.